here our senior showman, and we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome our judge, John Meary. He's going to be judging for us. And here we go. Good luck, everyone.
Perfect. It was perfect. You were great. Jody, we can't do without
All right, explain a little bit of what we got going on out here. These are our senior sheep, our goat showmen, and I'm going to do that today because I've judged a few fairs, and I'm going to judge the sheep and the goats today. So let's just get this disclaimer out of the way to start off with. I'm going to call a sheep a goat, and I'm going to call a goat a sheep, and that's just going to happen. But I do know the difference between the two of them. Okay, so once I get going, I'll just start talking about sheep, and there'll be some goats here in the class, or vice versa. So what we're doing here is I've sorted off 3 of my top-end showmen here that are close to me, and I'm going to work with them just a little bit more today in the senior division. I've given blue ribbons to our 4 young ladies that are over here, still in line from when I moved them around on a side profile. I visited with each one of those young ladies and gave them an idea of what they could do a little bit different in order to kind of get up into this purple ribbon level, how they could handle their goat, the spacing they have between their goat and the next one, keeping goats in a line when keeping them uniform when we line them up, and those types of things. And a couple of these young ladies just have goats that kind of have their own mind. And my kids showed goats. I understand that. One day they'll do just perfect, and the next day they'll want to dance, and they'll want to turn, and they'll want to twist, and they don't like the sawdust, and then they don't like the sand, and so there's a lot of things that are sort of out of your control. But I think these 3 young people came to the top of the class for me today. As I said, I'm going to work with them a smidge more, and then we'll decide our senior champion. Let's give this whole group a nice hand out here.
Last call, junior showmanship, and the breeding doe kids, please make your way up.
All right, we have three really outstanding goat showmen here at the Lancaster County Fair in 2018. I'm really impressed with these three. They all stood out to me as they came in the ring initially as being very calm and collected. They have good ring presence and good understanding of their positioning in the ring. I think that's kind of what sets them apart from our blue ribbon showmen today. Their goats lead well. I always like to, especially in the senior division, I won't do it in the juniors, but I like to switch out and have them show a goat that they're not used to. Presumably not used to, so I can see kind of how they handle an animal in general, what they do on some goat that they've never shown, and how they sort of show it to correct its faults, because all animals have faults. And so I learn a lot when I do that, how sort of what sense they have about showmanship skills, and I was impressed with how they did. But this is a really nice group of showmen. I'm going to start with our third purple winner, and then I'll make a selection of our champion. I'll shake the hand of the third place man right here. Congratulations to you. He's our third place purple winner. I don't know if I have enough cords, so why don't you two come a little closer to me here, and then we'll select our champion. Young lady here on the end is going to be our grand champion showman of the fair today. Really an outstanding job. I was impressed with her the minute she walked into the ring. She keeps perfect space between her and the goat. I really like it when I get on the front end of this goat, how she stands off to the side and lifts that halter. Gives me that full front view of the chest, the neck, the legs, so I can evaluate the quality of the goat. Really, really calm, and she leads that goat incredibly. That goat just is impeccable. He walks, when she wants him to stop, he stops. And so a really nice job. Young man, you did an excellent job too, and in particular, I think you'll be our reserve champion showman. Let's give him a nice hand today. I thought you worked, when you had a different goat other than your own, I thought you did the best of the three showmen out here. Occasionally your own goat wants to get a little spraddled out on you. He wants to set those back legs a little far behind him. And you need to be a little more aware of when he does that so you can get him corrected just a smidge quicker than you've been doing. But really a nice job here. Congratulations to all our senior showmen.
In the ring now is junior showmanship, and after the conclusion of this show, then there will be a chance for pee-wee showmanship to enter the ring. So if you would like to do that, please make your way up. And then following that, it will be the second call for the breeding doe kid class. This is the last call for Pee Wee showmanship, so please make your way up. We would like to take a minute today and recognize our judge, John Murray. John is from Arlington, Nebraska. He grew up in 4-H and his family has raised sheep for generations. He continues that with his own Cleveland flock. He has 3 sons who were 10-year 4-H members. They showed lambs, goats, and swine, pigs. John is active in the community, including serving on the local school board. Thank you to John for coming out today.
Testing. Okay. So we're going to follow the same pattern we followed in our senior showmanship class. The youngsters on the outside of the ring here are going to be our blue ribbon showmen today. Now, I didn't talk to each one of them individually, but I can say some things in general that apply to everybody here. So one of the things, first of all, that's really important at any livestock show where you're actually handling an animal, that be sheep, goats, or anything cattle, is the spacing you have in the ring. You want to make sure that you're not on top of the animal that's in front of you. And granted, we have a big class here today, and granted, 15 juniors. By the way, let's give these juniors a nice hand. 15 is a pretty good number to have out here. So in general, a couple things to our blue ribbon showman. Number one, spacing. You want to make sure you're leaving yourself plenty of room between you and the animal in front of you in case yours wants to jump or the one behind you wants to jump and jump on top of your animal. So we get a little bunched up at times. The other thing I think that really sets them apart is when I come on the front end of that animal, I need you to step back. I need you to stand away from the animal, hold the halter on either side. It doesn't matter to me which side, and really exhibit that animal's front end. I need to look at the front legs, the shoulder, the neck, the head in order to evaluate that animal completely. And when you're standing in front of the goat, I can't do that. So that's one thing I think that separates them. And lastly, I'm getting a little feedback here. Lastly, it's just eye awareness and a little bit of contact with the judge, knowing where the judge is at all times, knowing where your goat is at all times, a balance of one eye on your goat, one eye on the judge. And I think that if you can work on those three things, you can jump up into this purple ribbon group. So I've got a group of purples out here that I pulled out. I'm going to work with them just a little bit more. Our blues can go ahead and receive their ribbons and leave the ring. It's a hot day, and there's no sense in just standing out here while we work with the other group. Once again, let's give them a nice hand.
final call for Pee Wee Showmanship.
Yeah. It gets to the beauty, Sean. I know. We'll see what helps. We'll see how. Sometimes those are kind of fun when you don't know what they're about. Right, exactly. Right, exactly. That's not to me.
All right, let's give a hand again for our junior showmen that are not only out here in the ring, but that came out earlier and received blue ribbons. These will all be purples today, and I sorted off 3 purple ribbon winners over here that are against the rail. Talked to them a little bit about what they could do a little different. Young man on the end with the glasses. You know, when I get around in front of his goat, I'd like to see him step away from it so I can see that front end. I've talked about that a couple times. That's really important. Young lady in the middle, her and I have had a little discussion all the class long here. She was winning. She was winning the class about halfway through it, and then the goat got away. So we had to catch him, then we had to put him back. Then he decided he wanted to stop, drop, and roll over here for a while. So everything kind of went downhill as the class went along. I left her in the purples anyway because I figured if she wins half the class, she's deserving of a purple. Just the second half just got away from her a little bit. Young man here with the brown doe, or I guess it's a leather. There again, I like to see the front end different, especially after I've talked about that. I'd like, when I come on that front end, I really want to see them step aside and hold them out. Okay, and so these will be our 4 top showmen here today. One of these individuals really stood out to me all day long. One of them got really progressively better as the day went along. Came in kind of a little shaky to start off with, and as we worked the class over and over again, she got a little better. That's a young lady on the end. Young man here in the middle is got good eye awareness, good attention, knows where the judge is at all times. I think the goat wants to spraddle a little bit at times. He wants to get his feet out on him a little bit. You want to be a little more conscious of that, but I think he has a good presence in the ring. Young lady here, really a good presence. She has an intensity about her. She has a ring presence about her that I really like. Young man here, this goat leads incredible. I mean, he just walks, stops. He hardly takes a bad step. I'd like to get a little more pop out of him when I'm on top of him and see if he muscle up a little bit as I handle him down the top. So our grand champion junior showman is going to be this young lady right here. I think she did a terrific job from the time she walked in the ring today, so congratulations to her. Young man right here is going to be our reserve grand champion. I thought he did a nice job. Probably the tamest goat in the class. That goat just hardly moved, and so he spent some time working with that animal before he gets to the fair, so congratulations to him. Young lady on the end who got better and better progressively as the class went along will be our 3rd place purple ribbon showman, and young man here will be our 4th place showman. So nice job for all of them.
Entering the ring now is Pee Wee Showmanship, and then we will have our final call for the Breeding Go Kid class.
Well, Pee Wee Showmen are anxious to get out the ring, so let's give them a nice hand here. They did a nice job out here. We had kids ages 21 months to 7 and 8 years old, and they all had a goat that had a name, and 2 of them were their sisters, and so it's great to see that they can help the younger kids get started. And we'll probably see them here at the goat show for real for the 4-H show here in a year or two, so congratulations.
Entering the ring now is the Breeding Go Kid class, and we will have first call for the Breeding Go Yearling class.
Okay, so we will later on at like 2 time approximately.
I have no approximate time.
Okay, are we talking like
Want to go to the bar?
so I will take these back to the office. I'm gonna last in the office and see how much trouble I can get into. I think they'll come in. What?
I need one more bar for a guy like two of them. Or the gal that dogs of the superintendent.
This is the second call for a breeding doe yearling class. There has been a missing credit card that has been turned into the front desk. So Sierra Wilson. Just
No,
kidding.
no.
Like I said before, turned into the meat goat table. So if you're missing a credit card, please come to the meat goat table and we'll give that to you.
All right, nice group here of junior breeding does out here. Let's give these kids a nice hand for their exhibit. We're going to give 5 purples in this class today and 6 blues. I'm going to go ahead and start the class here. We'll walk these goats out because I've got limited room with my microphone. So we're going to talk about them as they walk them out here. I'm going to go ahead and start the class with this doe this young lady's showing here. You know, a very well balanced doe. I think the doe wins this just on correctness, smoothness of pattern. She walks around the ring with a lot of style, a lot of balance to her. No, she's not the heaviest muscle doe in the class. No, she's not the biggest frame doe in the class. But she just puts everything together for me today. She's really corrected her skeleton, very good on her feet and legs. She's adequate in terms of her capacity and rib shape and rib volume. Not as good as the doe that we're going to put in second in that way, but I think she just puts everything together the best for me. So go ahead and you can walk her around. Young man's doe here in second, go ahead and walk it up so I can talk about it a little bit. This doe has the most depth of body and rib shape of any doe in the class today. She's really deep in her rib, got a lot of capacity, a lot of maternal, positive maternal characteristics. You like her feet and legs, you like her bone. I'd like to stretch her out a little bit in comparison to the doe that wins the class. She's also a little coarser through her front end, not as attractive when she's on the move as the doe that wins the class, but certainly a big body, big volume kind of a doe and certainly deserving of a purple ribbon. Young man, go ahead and you can just walk out there. Young man brings his doe in here in third place today. She's a little coarser looking than the 2 does above her, but you really get, when you get your hands on her, you have to appreciate the shape she has over her rack. You have to appreciate the depth of rib she has in her. Just not as much muscle in her as compared to the 2 does above her in the class today, but a long-sided kind of a doe that looks like she's going to have some good maternal characteristics as well. Once you bring your goat, who's the next one in line? Go ahead and bring this one out. I really like the touch of this doe. When I get my hands on her, super hard muscle, big rack in her. She's just a little finer made in her bone work for me today. She's a little narrow. When I look at her in comparison to the 4 goats above her today, I really appreciate the handle and the touch and the finish that this doe has on her. I just like to make more to her today, make her broader base, bigger bone, a little stouter type of doe to place me higher. You gotta love the pattern on this doe, the length of body, and as I've said a couple times, the touch she has, really muscular and hard to the touch. So she'll be our 4th place winner today. Go ahead and bring your black-headed doe out here. Here's the doe that's got the most skeleton in the class. This is the biggest frame doe out here. She has good depth of body, good shape in her rib. I just like to make her broader based once again to compete with those does above her. I'd like to make her a little longer in her overall body capacity to place any higher in this class today. Then we get into our blue ribbons, and we'll just kind of talk in general. They don't have as much muscle. They're not as correct on their feet and legs. They aren't as big and correct in their skeleton. I'd like to see them, I think, primarily just be broader based, placing higher in this class today, but certainly very nice 4-H projects here for our blue ribbon group, and let's give them a nice hand.
Entering in the ring now is going to be breeding doe yearling class, and so we're going to have first call for breeding age doe.
No, like as in, so you sign up to, they send you soft combined for them for $3 and then you send it for it's a lot like Mary Kay or something like that. That's this fuzzy soft combine.
This is going to be the final call for breeding age doe class. We're also going to have first call for all the first and second place winners from the breeding doe kid class and the breeding doe yearling class.
I've seen lots of questions. Some of them.
Balanced doe. I really like this doe. She handles with some muscle. She's got a big shape down her rack and into her loin edge. A doe, there I did it again, a ewe. She's got some springer rib and some capacity, some volume to her. super correct on her feet and legs, really like her on her lines, a very, very complete and a very nice doe. Let's go ahead and bring our second place one out here and we'll talk about it a little bit. I think our placing here for third and fourth is pretty close in my mind. I went with the young man's doe in second here, in second purple in the class. A doe that's got a little more muscle shape to it. It's got a little bit more expression to it as I get directly behind it. It carries down deeper into its leg. It has plenty of depth of volume, of rib and rib shape to her. She's a little thinner than the doe that comes in third, and yet she's showing more explosiveness and more expressiveness of muscle today. I really like the capacity in the third place doe here. Really a lot of volume. I like the length of body in this doe. She wants to be not quite as correct on her feet and legs. She's a little down on her front pasterns and a little splayed in that front leg in comparison to the doe in front of her, but I appreciate the length of body and the volume. She's carrying a little bit more conditioning compared to our top two today. I believe the young lady's doe here in fourth place in purple today, really a deep-bodied doe. Tremendous maternal characteristics on this doe. Really a lot of spring of rib, a lot of volume in this doe. She sits on a big bone, and she's going to have productive, quality kind of kids. In our blue ribbon group, we have a mix of goats that have a little finer bone work. We've got a couple in there that are carrying a little bit too much condition, but nice group of goats here in the breeding yearling class.
I'm making a lot of friends, man. A lot of friends. Yep.
Entering the ring now is the breeding age doe class, and in the conclusion of this show, we will have the first and second place winners from each class from the breeding doe kid class, the breeding doe yearling class, and the last class of breeding age does return to the ring to pick a champion.
All right, a nice group of aged ewes or aged does out here again. You are the doe that starts the class here today. Really a powerful doe. Really, anybody just doesn't know anything at all about goats can look at this doe and say there's a lot of doe there. She's got a lot of rib shape, really a tremendous volume. Sits on a big foot, a really wide base type of doe here. I like her length of body, the style, and the balance that she brings to the ring today. Just a real good, practical kind of a doe to start our class off. We're going to give 3 purples and 2 blues today. I think the doe in second place follows our first place doe the most. She's a little thinner kind of a doe. She shortens up on the side a smidge compared to the big doe that starts the class. She doesn't have as much depth of body and bone work that the doe that wins the class does, but you certainly have to appreciate her for the capacity she has to the rib. I just like to change her on her feet and legs a little bit in comparison to the first doe. Doe that I'm going to leave in the purple ribbons here, the third place one, love the length of body on this doe. Really long, really level top, really straight lines, good on its feet and legs, really up on its toes. Just not as much mass. There's just not as much muscle here in comparison to the 2 does above it today. I'd like to make it a little bigger in its rib shape, rounder in its rib shape, and show more expression of muscle, and I get directly behind it, but a nice doe in her own right. We have a couple does to round out the class that are blue ribbons, just a little thinner made kind of does with not as much muscle. Let's give them a nice hand here.
In the ring now is our division champion, and we will have first call for our born and raised class 1.
Glad you got out of there for a while.
Let's give all these youngsters that exhibited in the breeding goat division today a nice hand. I think we've got some really good animals out here. The one thing you're going to notice on all 6 of these does as you look at them today, they're all very good on their feet and legs, very correct. We don't have any bad pasture and bad footed does out here. They all have some style and some balance to them. They all have some maternal capacity, which we're looking for in the breeding into the doe business or the goat business here. So I'm really pleased with the way these all size up out here in the ring today. One of them just really comes to the top to me today, and from the minute it walked in the ring, our champion breeding doe will be this young lady's yearling doe here. Congratulations to you. I would shake your hand. I got a short cord here. There you go. Congratulations. Reserve champion will be here on our junior doe. Congratulations to you. I think that might belong to her too as well. So a young lady had two very good does here, and really nice group. Let's give them a good hand again.
Entering the ring now is the Class 1 born and raised, and we'll have our final call for our born and raised Class 2.
All right, this is the lightweight class of the home raised or county bred and fed, whatever you call it here. So these are all bred here in Lancaster County. Some lighter goats in here. I'm going to go ahead and start the class off with this young man's really nice goat here. He wins the class rather easily in my mind today. Muscular, very straight and level down his top. When you get behind him, he shows some expression of muscle into his lower leg. Very firm to the handle as I get my hands across the top on him. And so really a goat that wins the class rather easily in my mind today. Second place goat is a real tall goat, big framey goat here. You have to appreciate it for the skeleton and the overall growth in this one. He gets a little flatter across the rib. He doesn't have quite the roundness of the rib that the goat that wins the class does, but certainly appreciating for the overall skeletal structure and balance he brings to the class today. Third place purple ribbon here is a goat that has some capacity, has some volume. You appreciate the depth of rib on this goat, just not as much bone as the two goats above it today. Wants to taper off and get a little light in that muscle as I get directly behind it. I left the black goat and the purples today. This goat is deceivingly a hard muscle, but he gets your hands. He's got a big racket, and he's a little finer bone in comparison to the three boer influenced goats above him today. But you have to appreciate the handle on this goat. He does have some natural thickness and muscle. So we get into our blue ribbons here, just a little smaller kind of goats, a little smaller in their frame type, a little finer in their bone work. They're up.
Entering the ring now is born and raised class 2. After the conclusion of this class, we will have the born and raised class 1 first and second winners come back for a division champion for our born and raised. After the conclusion of the Born and Raised show, we will have the first class of meat goats lightweight, so please make your way up.
A nice set of heavyweight home-raised goats here from Lancaster County. I'm going to go ahead and start the class with this young man's doe. I think she wins the class rather easy in my mind today. Really a lot of explosiveness, a lot of power in this doe. She has good length of body, a lot of the muscle expression when you get directly behind her. You've got to appreciate her when you get your hands down her top. She's got a big rack and a big loin, well balanced, and I think she wins, as I say, the class rather easily in my mind. Young man's brown doe here, I really like the handle on this doe. When she first came in the ring, I really enjoyed the rack, the muscle, the shape she has, or he has, the weather. Really thick down his loin. He just shortens up a bit for me in comparison to the doe that wins the class today, but certainly a meat animal and probably the heaviest muscle goat in the class today. Young man has another goat here in third place, the black-headed weather, just a little coarser today, a little heavier in his shoulder, a little thicker through his neck. He's a little staler to the touch in comparison to the top two, but certainly a big bone, big skeleton kind of a goat you have to appreciate. He's got a lot of growth to him, just not quite the power we have in the two goats to start the class. The young lady has a goat here in fourth. It'll be a purple ribbon as well. Very, very similar to the goat that's in third today. Just not quite the package we've got in the top three goats. Not as smooth, not as level, not as much muscle expression when I get directly behind this one as there are in the top three, but you appreciate it for the skeleton, the growth, the bone this animal brings to the ring today. So those will be our purples. Our blue ribbons here in general, just a little bit lighter in their muscle pattern. Some have a little bit of correction problems with their feet and legs, but certainly a nice group out here. Let's give them a nice hand.
Entering the ring now is our selection of the born and raised champion. In conclusion of this champion division, we will have our first class of lightweight market goats. So please make your way up, class 1. This is our last call for our Class 1 lightweight meat goats. We will also have our first call for Class 2 lightweight meat goats.
All right, this is a selection of our Lancaster County bred and fed raised goat here in the county, and I think some really nice examples of quality meat goats out here. Pretty good competition, given that they were not purchased, they were raised at the farm, so I'm really pleased about the quality we've got. I think we have some similarities between them. They all have some length to side, they all have some depth of rib and some springer rib. I think there's one goat out here that stands out to me pretty easily to win this division today. It'll be the young man's goat right here, the doe from the heavy class. She'll be our grand champion. Let's give him a nice hand here. Our reserve grand champion in the county bred and fed division will be the young man's doe from the first class. Congratulations to him on reserve champion. I did give some thought to the brown doe that was second in class. I just like to lengthen her out in comparison to the other two animals we've got up here. I really appreciate that, whether for his capacity and his volume and the muscle shape he's got down his rack. He just shortens up on the side a little bit. Our second place heavyweight goat, a little flatter in his rib, not quite as expressive in his muscle. He's the big skeleton goat out here, but just not the power we've got in the other three goats. So congratulations to our exhibitors.
Mr. Fairboard, how are you? Good, you? Fairness investment, wireless mic.
The second one.
What is on it?
Anita, yeah. She said that she had sent you a bunch of changes to the program and wanted to know if those were updated.
I forwarded that to her.
Okay, good.
That's the frustrating part. It's a secret time. It's not well, we're not for it. I
feel like I'm walking on eggshells just asking him to do anything. But he's stuff I was tense. But it just depends. He's like, well, this isn't the class numbers. That doesn't match up. Like, I do my own class. I'm like, that's fine. That was one of the reasons to go through. He's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do my like best. You're right. Anyway.
All right, we've got some really lightweight market goats here in the open division, not the county bred and fed. We're done with that now. I'm going to give all four of them blues here today, but I will talk about them. They're just too light to get a purple ribbon today in the fair. Young lady, and I talked to her in the ring, that's a pretty nice goat. When you get another 3-4 months on that goat, he's got the rack shape, he's got the stretch to him, he's got some muscle dimension to the outside of his leg. He just is too light today. He's not anywhere near close to being a market weight goat, but you appreciate that goat for what the overall package he brings out here today. Young lady's goat's going to be second blue ribbon today. Same type of goat, got some good frame, good skeleton, good feet and legs on it. Just awfully thin and awfully hard for me to evaluate in terms of how much muscle that goat's going to have. We've got a couple smaller ones here to round out our class, but nice little group of lightweight market goats.
Entering the ring now is our me goat lightweight class 2, and we will have a first call for our market goat class 3. This is your second call for class 3 market goats.
All right, with 2 entries here in the market goat class. The black goat here is really a pretty nice goat. I'm going to go ahead and give her a purple today on this goat. I think it was a purple in the county bred and fed as well. Really, it has some muscle expression when I get my hands down its top. Has some good skeleton to it. I'd like to stretch it out a little bit. I think I said in the county bred class, I'd like to put some more bone, some more capacity, get a little more base width in that black goat. But when you get your hands on it, you have to appreciate it for the muscle in the rack and down into that loin. Goat's going to be a blue here in second place today. Just a little light for us today, a little difficult to evaluate just given the age of the goat and the weight of the goat. We don't know quite where that goat's going to go. He's awfully thin today, so we'll leave him in the blues.
Now entering the ring is Class 3 lightweight market goats. We will have our final call for lightweight Class 4. So please make your way up, Class 4.
We're going to give 2 purples in this class of market goats. We're starting to get in that weight where it's a little more desirable. We're into our 50s now, so that's okay. The top 2 goats here are in the mid-50s and just a smidge light, but it's getting more acceptable in terms of their overall body weight. I'm going to start the class. We're going to give 2 purples and 3 blues. I'm going to go ahead and start the class with this goat. Just a tremendously powerful doe when you get your hands on her. Really thick in her rack, really wide in her loin. Get directly from behind her. She's really expressive in her muscle. She's square on all 4 legs. She's a smidge shorter sided than the weather that comes in second today, but she just wins the class just based on base width and broadness and overall muscle and capacity today. Really a nice weather to play second in our purples today. He's a longer sided goat than the one that wins the class today, a little bit more up-fronted, more skeleton, just not the mass, just not the base width and the foot size we've got in the doe that wins the class today. Very nice pair of goats here in this class to give purple ribbons to. We'll round out here with 3 blue ribbons today. Goats that just don't have as much muscle. That's at this particular size. They're not showing the expression of muscle. They're not as correct on their top lines as the 2 goats that win the class. But a nice group here.
Now entering the ring is Class 4 lightweight market goats, and at the conclusion of this class, we will have the first and seconds from Class 2 and 3 to come back into the ring for our division champion. This is your second call for first and second place winners of Class 2 and 3. This is the final call for our class winners of the lightweight division classes 2 and 3, and we will have our first call for our medium weight goats, class 1.
All right, we'll give 3 purples and 2 blues in this class today. Young ladies, Weather Goat wins this class, I think, fairly easily in my mind today. Really puts it all together for me. Very complete kind of a weather. Long in his side, level in his top. You get behind him, he's not explosive in his muscle, but he's adequate in terms of his muscle. I like the way he moves around on his feet and legs. Very clean-fronted, tall-fronted kind of a goat, and he'll be our first purple. Second purple is the doe here. She's just a little softer to the touch. She's a long-sided doe. She doesn't have quite the balance and style we've gotten the goat to win the class today. She's a smidge higher in her flank, but certainly you have to appreciate her for the length of top, the bone she has on her. She's the biggest footed, biggest bone goat in the class today, and I like that about her, so she'll stay on our purple ribbons. Goat, it's hard to get a little read on here. It's in third place. We're going to go ahead and give it a purple today. This goat shortens up in comparison to the 2 goats above it today. It is more muscular as I get my hands down its top. I just like to stretch it out a little bit when the goat's on the move and on the side. He's a little low at the point of his shoulder in comparison to the other 2. Our blue ribbon goats right here in front of us, just not the muscle and the base width and the thickness that we have in the purple ribbon goats today.
Entering the ring now is our division champion selection of our lightweight market goats. In conclusion of this division, we will have our second call of the medium weight market goat class 1.
I found my best cell. Oh, good. Okay. Second. Perfect.
Okay, this is our lightweight division championship selection here of the meat goat division. Goats weighing up to about 65 pounds, I think, on the top end. On the light end, we've got some in the upper 40, low 40s-ish weight. So we've got some variation here, and you usually do when you get in the lightweight animals. You get a little variation in the style and the pattern and what you're looking for. So you work with what you have, and you pick what you think is the best attributes in each animal, and then compare them out here. So I think in this division we have a pretty easy champion. In the lightweight division will be the young lady at the heaviest goat in this division. Wins this division pretty easy in my mind today. I really like the style, really like the balance of this goat. Really level out the top line. You get your hands on him. He has some rack. He has some width of loin. Really correct on his feet and legs, and a really nice, powerful goat. A reserve champion will be the middleweight goat here from the middle division. You like the power in this doe. She's really, really thick down her top line. She's extended and elevated in her front end. She just shortens up a bit on the side when I compare her to the weather goat that wins the division today. And she's not as expressive in her rear leg muscle when I get directly behind her as he is. So champion on the heavy, reserve on the middleweight. Let's give him a nice hand here.
If you walk around and you go to that gate, then you go to
We're going to be taking a short break, and then we will continue with the goat show with the market goats, medium weight, class 1.
Worked out good because all they really had left was that height class.
entering the ring is our Class 1 of the medium weight market goats. We will be having our final call for our meat goat Class 2.
Oh.
We'll give 4 purples and 2 blues in this first class of our medium weight market goat division. Young man, I'm going to go ahead and start the class with the young man's Go over here on the far side. I think that we got some real differences between the top two here. Nothing comes particularly completely to me today. I got some bits and pieces in these top two goats, but there's things you certainly like about them. I like the bone work on this goat I'm going to start the class with. Really muscular type of goat on his top line. Big bone, big footed kind of a goat. You get your hands on him, you appreciate the rack that he has in him. He just disappoints me a bit when I get directly behind him. He's not as blown apart in the lower portion of his leg as the goat is in second. He is a longer sided goat than the brown goat that we've got in second today. I think he just wins the class overall based on length of body and a combination of muscling on his top. I really like the brown weathered goat we've got in second here. He's a thicker made goat. He's probably one of the thickest goats I've handled all day today. Really, really wide in his loin, terrifically explosive at the tip of his loin. He just wants to shorten up a little bit on the side for me in comparison to the goat above him and the one below him. And he's a little finer in his bone. Doesn't have as much base width, but you certainly have to appreciate the body and the mass this goat has. He comes in parts and pieces. Some you really like, some not quite as well. Another goat here, the black-headed goat. I think our third place one is over here now. Is that our third place? Okay. Big frame kind of a goat. Just doesn't have the muscle capacity and depth of rib and volume that we have in the two above him today. Black-headed goat's going to stay in the purple ribbons today. You have to appreciate the growth in this goat, the length of body, just not the mass, as I said, of the top two of the class. And we've got two blue ribbons here to round out our class today. Just a little shorter made, but very nice kind of 4-H market project goats.
Now entering the ring is our Class 2 medium weight market goats. After the conclusion of this class, we will have the first and seconds from the medium weight division come back for the selection of our champion in reserve.
We'll give 2 blues and 2 purple in this middleweight market goat class. I'm going to go ahead and start the class with the most complete goat in my mind of the group we've got out here today. I really like this goat at the point of his shoulder. He's tall-fronted, high-headed kind of a goat. He has some good length of body to him, handles with some muscle right through that rat shape. I'd like to make him a little leveler down the top. I'd like to make him a little, not so quick off his dock as I get right behind him, but he puts the pieces and parts together the best for me in this class today, so we'll go ahead and start the class with him. Young man's black-headed goat here in second place, the weather goat, very similar to the one that wins the class, just not quite as fancy, just not quite as up-fronted, not quite as muscular. We get right behind the tip of the shoulder on this goat. He wants to shorten up just a bit in the size, in the side view, in comparison to the goat that wins the class today. It's certainly a growthy kind of a goat, and we'll leave him in the purple ribbons today. The 2 blue ribbon goats here, just a little lighter in their muscle package. You've heard me say that all day, and a little finer in their bone work, just not the base width of the meat animal look that we've got in the top 2 today.
Now entering the ring is our selection of the champion and reserve middleweight meat market goats. We will now have our final call for our meat goat heavy class, class 1.
All right, this will be the selection of our middleweight champion meat goat today, and some similarities out here. Once again, when you get some smaller numbers, you have to sort of pick and choose parts and pieces of goats that you think bring the best attributes to the ring. I don't think we have a complete goat in this class or this division that really stood out to me today. I think we have some really good ones. I don't know that we have a super great one today in my mind, but I think I like this goat over here that won the heavy class to win the middleweight division. I really like when I get in the front of him. He's bold in his front end. He's sprung really broad in that chest floor. He handles good when I get my hands down his top. I'd like to level him out, as I said in class. He comes in pieces and parts a little bit, but he puts the most good things together today that we have in any one goat in this division, and so he'll be our middleweight champion. I think our lighter goat follows him in type and style the most, and he'll be our reserve champion. Long-sided goat, handles with the muscle expression in the rack. I just get behind him. I'd like to thicken him up. I'd like him to see more explosive in the lower center portion of his leg. I like his bone. I like his up-frontedness. But a nice pair of goats to win our middle division. Let's give him a good hand here.
Now entering the ring is our Class 1 heavyweight market goats. We will have our second call for our Class 2 of heavy market goats.
All right, we're going to give out 3 purples and a blue in our first class of the heavy division of the meat goat show. Young man's doe here wins the class rather handily in my mind today. Really a square made kind of a doe, really tremendously thick when I get my hands down her top, dead level across that shoulder up to the hip area. You get right behind her, really explosive in her muscle pattern. She's not wanting to cooperate real well today, so it's hard to get a little look at her, but he gets her set up and he gets her stuck like he's got right now. That's a real powerful kind of a meat goat, and as I said, I think wins the class rather handily. We're giving 3 purples and a blue in this class. Young man's goat here in second place is deceptively good handling. He's a big goat. He's a big frame kind of a goat. I was expecting him to be a little sharp over the shoulder, and I get my hands on him. He's got some rack shape in him. Clearly a goat that has some depth or some capacity. He's really smooth through that front shoulder. He's a long neck kind of a goat. You have to appreciate for the style and the balance he brings to the class today. Our third place goat, very similar to our second place goat, so it's going to stay in the purple ribbon group today. High-headed kind of a goat. Just not as much muscle as we've got in the top 2 meat goats today, but you have to appreciate the growthiness in this goat, the skeleton, the correctness. And our goat to round out the class, a blue ribbon, just not the base width, just not the muscle we've got in the top 3 entries today.
Now entering the ring is Class 2 of heavyweight market goats. We'll have our final call for Class 3 heavyweight market goats. This is a heads up to the sheep barn. A reminder that we will be starting the lamb show 30 minutes following the goat show, and we are close to wrapping up our goat show here in the last couple classes. So if you have lambs that haven't been washed, it's a good time. We are looking at 4:15-ish approximately for the lamb show. That will change as we finish, but just a heads up for the lamb show, it's almost time.
Well, a real highly competitive class of goats here in our heavyweight division of the market goat show. 3 really good animals at the top end of this class today. I'm going to go ahead and start with this weather goat here. I really like the balanced style this goat brings, and he puts it in a complete package. You can see the expression of muscle when you're just looking at him from the side. He bulks up over that top, really full in his rack, really wide in his loin. He carries himself a little leveler off that dock that our goat in second place. That might be because he wants to drop his tail just a smidge as opposed to having it up today. But I think he's more balanced when I look at him from the front. He's a little broader in his chest floor, but a really good, high quality pair of goats around to top this class here. Goat here in second place is probably the more muscular of the two. When you get your hands on him, he really jumps back at you, especially in that rack area. He's a little coarser through his shoulder in comparison to the goat that wins the class today, but certainly I appreciate him for his overall length, the body, the balance, the bone that this goat brings, and I think a very competitive, very close placing at the top end of this class. The goat here in third is also going to be a purple. Just got into a very difficult class with those top 2 in here. This goat's just a little looser in his skeleton. He wants to break down the shoulders a little bit as he walks around with the muscle, the capacity, and the overall balance that we've got in the purple ribbon group.
Now in the ring is our Class 3 of middleweight market goats. After the conclusion of this class, we will have the champion and reserve selection of our middleweight market goat.
We have a lone entry here in the heavyweight class of the meat goat division. He weighs 98 pounds. I'm giving him a purple ribbon. He's a pretty high quality kind of a goat. Really got some muscle, got some thickness. He's not overly conditioned. He's not sloppy in his appearance. He's just a big frame goat that has some size and some capacity. And sometimes they grow to 100 pounds. That's okay. He looks good at 100 pounds, and so it's certainly worthy of a purple ribbon. Let's give this young man a nice hand here.
We will now have a selection of the champion and reserve heavyweight market goat.
So let's give a hand to all these goat exhibitors that had an entry in this division today. Really good, nice quality meat goats in this heavy division today. We've got some differences out here, but we've got some similarities as well. And talk through them just briefly here. I really like the young man's goat here on the end. I like the power this goat brings. She's really dead level down her top, really muscular. She's a little coarser through her front end in comparison to some of our other animals out here today. She's a little not as firm down her top when I handle her, but you look at her, you like the fact she's dead level. Just a little coarser to that front end than I'd like to see perhaps in comparison to some of our other entries. Young man's goat here that wins the middle division. Really a super stylish kind of a goat, real up fronted, really broad when you look at him from the front end. You can see the expression of muscle in him as you look at him out here. I get my hands on him. He doesn't disappoint me there. I like the skeleton. I like the whole package he brings today. The big goat here on the end, very similar to the goat that wins the middle class. Just a little too big perhaps today in terms of the weight, but it's very clean made for a goat that size and a high quality kind of a goat. I'm going to go ahead and use our middleweight goat here for grand champion of our heavyweight division. Really a nice entry today. Let's give him a nice hand. And the goat that's going to be reserved in this division will be the goat that followed him in class. That's a really nice pair of goats that were very competitive in class, and I'm just going to keep them together to win this division.
Now entering the ring is our selection of the grand champion market goat.
Well, I guess this will conclude the meat goat show at the 2018 Lancaster County Fair. That microphone doesn't like me. The speaker doesn't like me very good. Let's give a nice round of applause to all these exhibitors. They've really been working hard out here today. Showing animals in the heat, it's a difficult task at times, so I appreciate everything they've done in terms of getting into the ring and being orderly and getting a nice show put together today for everybody involved. We've got some really nice meat goats, and I've talked about them out here today. You know, I'm not going to say a whole lot more. I'm just going to go out and select our grand champion meat goat for the 2018 Lancaster County Fair. I'll select our champion first. I'll select our reserve second, and it's been my pleasure and privilege to work through these goats today, to work with our help over here on the side. And once again, let's just give everybody a nice hand out here, and I'll select the champion market goat for the 2018 fair.